And you're still watching us here on the Daily Debate. I'd like to welcome my guest joining me here in the studio this evening, Dr. Hussein Shureba, Professor of Economics. Thank you very much, Dr. Hussein, for joining me. And Dr. Ahmad Abdalmغني حمودة, who's an investment expert. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
And we apologize for the delay, for technical issues. Gentlemen, we're talking today about the inaugurations that President Sisi had done earlier this morning concerning the new investor centers that are going to be providing services of different sort, whether it is for establishing a firm or for licensing and so forth. I would want to first ask you, Dr. Ahmed, how do you see this move in light of the economic reform program that Egypt is currently ongoing?
We're actually thrilled in the investment and financial community, and it's now moving to a celebration. We should celebrate. This is a very important event for us. Like 2.5 years ago in the Egypt Economic Development Conference, we have provided promises that we are going to improve our investment framework and provide a new investment law and improve the facilities that provide service to investors and move to a one-stop shop services and facilities, and now we are seeing it happening on the ground. So we moved through the steps, through the new investment law, the executive regulation, and now the improved service delivery framework, and it is going to be rolled on to 4 other governorates outside of Cairo. So this is also very helpful to improve the investment framework in other governorates.
Dr. Hussein, Egypt has been witnessing a lot of deteriorating economic conditions for the past years. There wasn't really in the previous past any kind of concrete strategy concerning the investment. Now with the new investment law and with such centers, do you think that this will indeed be a very much more easier steps for the foreign investors when they want to consider investing here in Egypt?
Well, this is the first step. It's not the end. So for a first step, it's excellent. You need to, let's say, improve this in different manners. Your investor, when he comes over here, he's in need to lots of things. One of the important things to start an investment, to whom should I talk? To whom should I work with? How can I fulfill my documents and requirements to invest? If this is going to take a long time as it's been done before, there will be no investment. So time factor is the number one for this. It's nothing, no more than anything else. If you watch, this is being done after, as my colleague Dr. Ahmed said, after 2.5 years. 2.5 years you were marching through what you call all bureaucratic things, which has been done before, the 30 years and before. This was a problem. And investors would just always leave Egypt and go to another country. Today, now, Egypt is changing this manner, putting an add plus to this, because investments today needs an easy task.
Yes, definitely. Nina, do you agree with Dr. Hussein, Dr. Ahmed, that these are the kind of inquiries that any investor, any foreign investor would want to ensure that the time factor is a priority for them when it comes to considering investing here in Egypt? But I also know that these centers have other programs. Maybe you can also add to that by tell us what you think is the mechanism and how will this system or these centers work and function?
Well, I agree perfectly. It's a very good step, as we mentioned. I see the total framework of the service needs, the needs for the investors. The first one is the ease of entry to the market, and those centers particularly help receiving more services, knowing about the executive regulation of the law, and opening up their business safely. The next step also is problem resolution. This is very important for those centers to be actively involved in resolving problems and solving any problems for the investors. The third step is belongs also important for the government and for the service centers, is to facilitate repatriation of profits and investments, and this is very important also for investors. So they need to have good service on the whole spectrum of investment, from the point of entry till the point of exit, because this is the right of any investor to have ease and entry and exit out of a particular market.
And possibly, Dr. Hussain, the investors will perhaps, they would say, these kind of centers are mediating between the Ministry of Investment and the Ministry of International Cooperation and the investor himself, but it was most likely going to be the case that if there are any inquiries or if there are any requirements that these ministries would want from these investors, they would have to get back to the ministry for approvals and so forth. So then again, as an investor, they might think, how long would that take? Do you think that it's possibly, along with these centers, comes digitalizing everything, meaning that everything is going to be through online processes to also be a mean of reducing time, or how do you see it working here in Egypt?
Yeah, this is one of the things which they are doing on this, and they are working hard for this. Because digitizing all these things, it is the supreme of all. Because you can do it in the States, you can do it from China, you can do it from Russia, South Africa, anywhere. So it would ease your investments. It's not easy things for investors, but investors will always link to what is an easy target to go and invest and secure, as well as I can go out of this market with no problem. So if you can do this, we always think about an important thing: time, cost, value. So if there is no cost value, you are not adding or thinking about the cost value of the time, believe it or not, you're a loser. So this is why this step is a time value.
Yes,
this is number one.
All right. Do you have something else you want to add?
No.
All right, Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Hussain said this is the first step. So obviously, and this also comes as part of various other steps.
Yes.
Now, as an investment expert, if we were to look at the general picture of how you evaluate the Egyptian economic reform program so far, do you see that they are going through the right steps, or should have there been a parallel line or plan B, or in case anything happens, or no, we are a bit slow in certain areas? How do you view it generally?
First of all, let's realize that we were classified as an emerging market, but we were struck with the political and economic problems from 2008, the global financial crisis, and then 2011, our local crisis and issues. So coming back out of a crisis means there has to be drastic changes.
Yes.
Drastic changes has also to be planned, and the execution has to be smooth and aggressive. The plans were very good. The infrastructure is the first step of any improvement in any country. The second step is the control over the energy sources and diversification in the sources of energy, so renewable and non-renewable. And we have made a significant improvement in step number 2 as well. We now should accelerate step number 3. Step number 3, which is focus on production, improving in production in the country. Step number 4, which we are now in.
Improving production, you're talking about the number and quality?
Upgrading the manufacturing capability of existing factories and open new factories in sectors which are under invested in the country. For example, we need to invest more in vehicles, for example, in heavy machinery, heavy industries. Those are not yet tackled. We invested a lot in petrochemicals and building materials, which is good. So we need to move to the other spectrum of manufacturing facilities. So in phase number 3, improvement in the production, we need to accelerate and diversify across sectors that we are not still...
acceleration and diversification is what you believe should be the upcoming
Of course.
steps.
Step number 4, which we are still now on, is the improvement in the services. Services affect 3 levels, affect the daily life of the public.
What kind of services?
Education, transportation, and medical services.
Why
those are the 3 in particular that affect the daily life and have lacked significant investment over 30 to 35 years. And we need to pump in investments in those for the individuals to have ease of life.
All right.
And improve the quality of life.
Definitely. And of course, Dr. Hussain is an economic expert living in the United States. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how do these centers exist in the United States? How does it work in terms of when foreign investors want to invest in the United States? That kind of comparison, where does Egypt lie and how far is it behind the rest of the world?
No, we are not behind. We needed the important steps will be done today. We need something like this.
All right.
And we need the other steps. So we are not behind. Because investors is not looking for a country by itself. He's looking for how much in return of my investment in anywhere worldwide, if you're talking international. So most of the companies in the States, you will find them, they are multinationals. And you can find also, China is investing in the United States, and they have more than $3 billion US there. Sorry, 3 trillion.
No, I was just wondering, the numbers seem to be a bit little
3 trillion.
for China.
No. 3 trillion over there. So I want you to know that investors, whether you're a communist, as we heard about it, whether you're a capitalist or a socialist, investment is going everywhere. It's like water, it can have to move everywhere. So we need, as Dr. Ahmed mentioned, we need to upgrade what we have. That's number one, like the factories we have mentioned. You need to do quality of things. Is not only your local market in need to it, but the international market are in need to it.
So it follows a standard mean of quality when it comes to production line, you mean, in general?
Yes. And you need it not only for, you need what's the customer need outside. What does he like to have? What is the new thing I can create for him? What can I do for him? This is the important thing for making any factory or renewing factories. So you have, for example, let's take an example, textile. You have a wonderful raw material, Egyptian cotton. But can you do the demands of people anywhere? Can you? There are few factories are doing this from Egypt right now in big stores in the States. And you will find them there. And their brand is, when they ship, let's say...
Yes, of course, it's superior. I've seen myself with my own 2 eyes. And
they ship anything.
Looking and finding made in Egypt, I mean, as much as it made me proud, as much as it made me feel sad that I don't get that quality anywhere in my country.
And I have a click on this. Some of our quality goes to Turkey, and then it has been labeled made in Turkey. And this is wrong.
Yeah, this is a law issue as well, which is also falls under the umbrella of investment. But also, I want to ask you, Dr. Ahmed, do you actually agree to a certain extent to what Dr. Hussein said, and adding on that as well?
Yeah.
Are there different targets of investors? Do we target domestic investors in a different way than foreign investors? Because foreign is a very broad term. So definitely the domestic ones would be different than the foreign ones, or are they the same? How does it go?
We have passed through realistic progress of economic needs for investment. During the times of crisis, we should focus on local and public investment. And this is for acceleration of economic growth. During the time of crisis, FDI will not help, and the private sector will be reluctant also to invest. So the government should step in and pump public investments, and this has been done for the past maybe 2 to 3 years. We have seen government projects in many sectors, and this is for the activation of the economy. Now is the role of the Egyptian private sector.
All right.
Now is the role of the Egyptian private sector to also show to the whole world that we are Egyptian private sector and we believe in our economy.
You mean play more of an active role?
More active role, yes. We have seen several Egyptian enterprises cutting their capex and investment plans for the year 2015, 16, 17, still seeing turbulence, and we had a float, and yes, we had some turbulence. Now we passed this turbulence. That this is the time for them to be more aggressive in their investments and to show to the whole world that they trust in their economy. Once we also do this, in parallel with improving the investment framework for foreign direct investment, foreign direct investment will flow because we have superb opportunities in many sectors. We have suffered many years of undermined investment in several sectors, so we need improvement in many sectors. Example to the services, which we have mentioned.
Yes,
so we need foreign investment in education, in medical services, in hospitality even, transportation. Several sectors are underdeveloped. So those are opportunities for the foreign
Speaking of
investment.
opportunities, as Dr. Ahmed said, and earlier also spoke about diversification, I'm sure you've noticed that the focus is no longer on Cairo or Greater Cairo, but now it's moving and shifting to other parts of the country and in Upper Egypt. That kind of shift, what kind of indication would it give to a foreign investor? Is it Egypt that's trying to say, hello, we're not just located here, we have a huge piece of land, let's come and think what we want to do? Or is it something that's done on purpose?
If it's unique, when I say unique, it has to be very close to his raw material, and manpower is there, and well-trained, as well as power is available. So the three things, the three items for his investment is there. He's welcome. He's going to go and will do it even in Shalatin, not in Cairo. He will go anywhere. But I want to add one more thing. As Dr. Ahmed said, it is the private sector time. Okay? I agree 100%. But we focus only on businessmen in Egypt as a private sector? No. The businessman can use his background of reputation in his field and do this through stock market. And the people will love it because they will go and they will, I have 2,000 pounds. And 2,000 pounds, when I put them in the bank, I'm gaining peanuts. So if I put them in a stock market with this company, this man has a reputation, let's say in textile, in steel, in cement, and everything, I'm going to gain a lot.
All right.
And I'm going to make it not, this is a private sector, but to individual, very limited people with capitals. This is, you're giving opportunity to middle class and low to feel that this is my country,
yes,
and I'm investing.
This seems to be a very valid point. I'd also want to take your opinion on that. I'm sure that this is not something that is of secret to the private sector businessmen, but there should be some kind of reason behind that. But allow me, gentlemen, to go out for this short report, because apart or along line the inaugurations today, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi did speak about the gas exploration in particular in Egypt, and he defined it by scoring a goal. He stated also that Egypt has gas facilities and laboratories that does not exist in gas-producing countries in the Middle East, enabling the country to be a regional hub of energy, and he said that the government isn't part of the gas deal with Israel. These are very important comments that would mention today. Let's take a look at this report.
During the inauguration of the two investor centers at Upper Egypt, President Sisi described progress made in terms of gas explorations in Egypt as scoring a goal. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi stated that Egypt has gas facilities and laboratories that don't exist in other gas-producing countries in the Middle East, enabling the country to be regional hub for energy. Commenting on Egypt's import of gas from Israel per a deal with a private Egyptian company, President Sisi stated that the government is not part of the deal. He further noted that the huge attention to the issue by the Egyptians since the news surfaced. Around 64 of natural gas from Israeli reservoirs will be exported to a private Egyptian company over a decade for $15 billion. The agreement stipulates that the supply will continue until 2030 or until a 64 billion cubic meters had been fulfilled, whichever is sooner. President Sisi clarified that Egypt consumes around $12 to $13 million of petroleum per year. President Sisi urged to make the best use of gas in the petrochemical industries, which is in return will be added value instead of solely using it as a fuel, which brings the lowest revenue. President Sisi noted that a new law recently passed by the parliament guarantee Egypt's benefit from the gas either by manufacturing or exporting to other countries. It's worth noting that the Egyptian parliament passed a new law to regulate the activities to the gas market. The law will help attract the private sector to invest in storing and selling natural gas directly to the countries. Long live Egypt.
Welcome back again. You're still watching us here on the Daily Debate. Now, before we go and comment on President Assisi's statements today, I would want to resume back with the point that Dr. Hussein Shariba was discussing, Dr. Ahmed, before the break. Why do we get this feeling, or do experts generally get this feeling, that there is some kind of disagreement or lack of communication and agreement between the private sector and the government now? Because the stock issue market is a very good, actually, boost to the economy.
You picked the right word, which is communication, and it's a more of
That's
a
trying to be
communication.
diplomatic. Well, I mean, that wasn't sure the word that wanted to come out,
lack
but
of
that's how it
transparency,
was.
and lack of transparency is unacceptable for anyone. So the government has to be fully transparent to the investment community, whether local, international, multinational, so that everyone knows what's happening and what is the plan and what we are weak in and what we need to improve and what are we doing to do this improvement. The second thing is people were fed up because when they do benchmarking, for example, they can say, I've seen local business person saying, okay, I can establish a company in Singapore in 24 hours. I can establish a company in Dubai in 3 days. So why it's taking 60 days to open a new investment company in Egypt?
But we have had a new activating law.
Yes, the law now says 7 days.
Yes, working days.
7 working days, which is very good. So we have slashed from 60 to 7.
Yeah, which is a big, great achievement.
Okay.
Let's talk
the
about
next
that
step
honestly.
is, okay, we can raise the bar. And this is the simple matter, but timeline is very important.
Of course, yes.
And but we have to deliver our promises. So we cannot just promise that, the company is set up and has a fully operating license in 7 days, and we find it's 15. So we have to live to the promise. And we have to, if we say we are going to provide one-stop shop at the investment service unit, then it needs to be a one-stop shop. So I cannot go back on this promise and say you need to take approvals here and there. It is one set of approval in one place. So we need to live to our promises. When we live to our promises, the credibility will be higher. So 2 things will be higher, transparency and credibility. When those are higher, then complete trust will be regained between the investment community and the government, and the executive regulation will be smooth in application.
In light of talking about communication and transparency, the President Sisi today spoke of a very important matter that has been, rotated and discussed in all over the social media, for instance. And it's just a bit also sad, you must confront the fact that people share things and they start accusations without really understanding or having the knowledge of what exactly the story is about. What's your take on today's statements and the general talk that's been ongoing, Egypt signing a deal and bringing in gas from Israel? But hilarious, don't you think, that we are discovering our own gas and yet we want to go and sign deals with other countries to import their gas? I mean, does even Israel have gas? I thought they didn't.
No, before I answer you, I will ask you a question. Would you like to do a business in Malta, in Cyprus, in Greece, anywhere? Would you?
Well, if it's for my benefit and for the benefit of whoever I'm responsible of, I will try to reach a compromise.
I got the word from you. It's the benefit.
Yes.
So when you have a minister is doing for the benefit of the country of Egypt, and you have a prime minister is taking over and full responsibility for this, and then the president is watching and regulating all these things, it is for the benefit of the people. So these things is being done carefully. If you got from North Korea a business, would you do it or not? I would do it. There is no problem with this. Business doesn't have a nationality or doesn't have a faith or doesn't have anything. It's business. You win. You have to win in this business. So not to lose, but to win. When we say business, you have to be a winner. Mm-hmm. And not only your side is a winner, it is win-win. Mm-hmm. And when you make an upgrade of that product, which you are making business of it, and you are a winner in this, you are helping other countries, such as Europe, for this type of business. Not only you, because your investment in petrochemicals is a lot. Mm-hmm. So how can you have a return value for this? Mm-hmm. It has to do business for everyone. It's like the shoemaker. When he makes a shoe, he doesn't care about that shoe will go to Italy or France or Egypt or Morocco or South Africa. He's making the factory for his shoe to be sold out somewhere from the leather he got it from somewhere, and he just made it a shape and a type of things, and he's selling here and there. Mm-hmm. So this is what we are doing today.
Yes, Doctor. I apologize for interrupting you there, but Dr. Ahmed, because we need to move to another point before our time is almost up. Dr. Ahmed, what's your take on President Sisi's comments today?
It's the same. We're actually happy that he has clarified the situation, and we hope the government has done more effort to clarify it early on before there is talk here and there between the general economy and investment framework people. So we have done 10 years ago significant investment. We have embarked on a plan to have significant investment in upgrading our oil and gas capabilities and petrochemical capabilities. We have some problems. Back in 2008, we were still hoping that we have excess gas, and actually we were exporting gas. When we realized that we are over-exporting, we suffered a problem. This problem was we turned from a net exporter to a net importer. And the government has to change infrastructure to be versatile, to import gas, liquefied natural gas, and use our regasification capability to use it for internal use. Also, we have upgraded the capability of the facilities and infrastructure to be able to also export gas. So this is to be ready for the gas find. The gas find is started production in Zohr, and we will have two other, Atul also will have production after 1 year. So we will increase our production gradually. During this time, we need to optimize the use of our facilities for re-exporting for other local markets. Especially, this is in line with our strategy to be a gas hub for the East Mediterranean.
Definitely, of course. Now, Dr. Hussein, speaking again of the general investment atmosphere here in Egypt, the inaugurations, the continuous inaugurations that the President is keen to keep doing for, almost every week there's a new inauguration of a number of projects. That it's like, again, because you mentioned how time is an important factor earlier, to sort of beat time so that the job opportunities would be created for the youth who have potentials, who constitute a large percentage of the population, so people can start feeling the fruit. Now, how do you see this strategy?
I saw this strategy from the 30th of June, my dear. The moment he stepped in, he was talking about, we care about Egypt, and you Egyptians should work with me side by side. And that's from the very beginning. And he was very honest. Transparency was very clear with everyone. He didn't show anything untrue. He needed the people over here to Egypt to have confidence in the management of the country. And he established this. And that's a very important thing. Before, it was a kind like a force majeure. This is what you should do. This is what you have. So you are obliged to obey what's been given to you. But today, no.
Of course.
You have a kind of a discussion. You can say to him, this is wrong side. We should do this. So you have a very skillful teamwork. One of them is Faiza Bonnaga, Dr. Faiza Bonnaga. Sahar Nasr is one of the good ones advises. So when we talk about capability of people like this, we are talking about top quality to be delivered to the people, not to deliver to a few number of people. That's a big difference. You're talking about 100 million people of Egypt. Once more again, I want to say that President Sisi, he have today created what you call a confidence between the people of Egypt and their government. This confidence was very weak before, or was not there, if I want to say the true thing. But it was very weak. Today, no, we do have. Doh is one of the things which has been done. The 1.5 million acre, this is another thing. The map road which is moving on, this is magnificent because this will support your investment. Investment doesn't need the Cairo itself. It needs to go to Aswan. It needs to go to Alamein. It needs to go to, this is why you have in Alamein the Russian investment over there. The Germans, they have a big thing over there. So come on, he's working for the sake of every Egyptian living on the land of Egypt, whether you are from the far end in the south or the far end of the north.
Yes, of course.
He's working for you.
Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Hussein Shriba talked about something very important, that today possibly there's more confidence between the people and their government. And actually the government is always keen to keep the people updated through their clear and transparent reports and statements. If we're talking about investment and creating job opportunities, the Egyptian Minister Engineer Tariq Qabil did say that growth in the industrial sector had created 3 million jobs in Egypt so far. In a very short time.
Direct and indirect.
Exactly. And you're talking, it's not just a number that's triggering, you're talking about the atmosphere and the circumstances that the country economically has been going through for the past 2 years that would possibly make it impossible to create this number of job opportunities in this short time. What can you tell us about the strategy again?
The strategy is excellent, and as we have mentioned earlier on in our discussion, the diversification and reaching out to all the geographies of Egypt. So if we focus only on the real estate projects and the new cities, so 13 new cities in 13 new governorates, each is 1 million at least. The new industrial cities, several projects in many regions, showing this and having perseverance and quality in the execution increases the
job opportunities, definitely.
Yes, of course, but increases also the trust in the government, in their capability to
because
provide new
of their
jobs.
keenness and seriousness in taking these serious steps, definitely. I'd like to thank you very much. Unfortunately, our time is up. We apologize for the delay that happened at the beginning of the episode. Dr. Hussein Shriba, Professor of Economics, thank you very much for joining me this evening. And Dr. Ahmad Abdalmغني حمودة, investment expert, thank you as well, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching, and have a lovely evening. Thank you for coming.